Hi guys, my name is Karina and this is a tutorial on how to make this cute tank top using your t-shirt or a bodice block pattern. For this project, you need your t-shirt, ruler, scissors, pen and some paper. If you're going to use your bodice block, separate it. Some fabric, I'm using bedsheet scraps with these little houses. First method is using your t-shirt. Fold it in half lengthwise and align it with the edge of the paper. Folding the sleeves and trace around it. You can make this pattern with the best measurements for your body. The measurements I will use are just suggestions. I reduced 1.5 cm from the shoulder, 1 cm from the neckline, and I retraced the curve of it. I lowered the armhole to 1.5 cm and I retraced the curve. I don't want a cropped tank top, so I reduced 12 cm length of the hem. We'll make a curve on the side. If you want, you can make a straight tank top. Now you just need to add the seam allowance. I will use 1.5 cm, but you can use 1 cm and cut it. And your front pattern is done. Trace the front pattern on another bigger piece of paper. Place the t-shirt aligned to the edge of the pattern. Trace the back neckline, shoulder length, and armhole. I retraced the armhole. I increased 6 cm from the front neckline and I retraced the neckline curve. I forgot to reduce the shoulder length, so now I'm correcting the armhole line. Make sure that the front and back shoulders are matching, and if it's all okay, your back and front patterns are done. If you use your bodice block, trace the front bodice block on the paper. Don't forget to copy the bust dart. I won't copy the waist dart because this tank top has a looser fit. I reduced 5 cm from the neckline and 1.5 cm from the shoulder. Then I retraced the neckline curve. For the armhole, I lowered 1.5 cm and I retraced the curve of it. I added 1.5 cm for ease on the side. For the length, I added 10 cm from the waistline. Then I trace a horizontal line to match the side line. Now you need to lengthen the bust lines to the side of the pattern. Lengthen the armhole curve. Add the bottom curve. And finally add the seam allowance. I'm using the same, 1.5 cm. Cut the front pattern and leave an extra paper on the side when cutting the bust dart. Because we need to close the bust dart, use adhesive tape to help. Retrace the side of the pattern and cut at this new line. Open your bust dart and your front pattern is done. Trace your back bodice block on another piece of paper. I removed the shoulder dart of my back bodice block. Mark 10 cm from the waistline for the length. I traced a horizontal line at this mark. We added the same front ease on the side, and I lowered 1.5 cm from the armhole. I retraced the armhole curve, and I reduced 1.5 cm from the shoulder line. I lowered 3 cm from the neckline, and then I retraced the neckline curve. I added the seam allowance, and I almost forgot to make the side curve. Now your back pattern is done. If you need, press your fabric. For making the tie straps, cut 8 strips of 35 cm length by 5 cm width. This is a different way to finish the strap end. As I have a directional print, I will make this finish on the top of the strap, so my print is red. Fold the strip with right sides together, then fold one raw edge to the middle, wrong side to the wrong side, and make the same with the other side. Pin it. This is how your strip should look like. Sew with 1 cm seam allowance. Cut the excess fabric and turn the strap right side out. Fold the raw edges to the middle and pin the side. Top stitch the opening side or both sides. I won't make this finish to the other end of the strap, because we will make the finishing with bias binding. This is how all the straps turn it out. Cut the back and front pattern on the fold of the fabric. Mark the bust darts on the fabric with a tailor sharp or an erasable pen. And pin it. If you're using the t-shirt method, pin the shoulders and try your tank top. Notice if you have a gap in the armhole at the height of the bust. If you have it, pin the gap. This is your bust dart. Sew the bust darts and don't backstitch at the end. Leave a long thread and make a double knot. Sew the shoulders with 1.5 cm seam allowance. I won't show all the process for making the bias binding because I have a whole video talking about it. I placed the shoulder seam in the middle of the bias binding, as you would put a bookmark in the middle of a book, and sew it. If you want, you can finish the seams with an overlock or zigzag stitch. Place the tie strap 3 cm from the armhole and pin it. Then place the second tie strap 10 cm from the first strap. Make the same process for the other sides. Seal all the tie straps with 0.5 cm seam allowance. If you want, you can top stitch the shoulder seams. Place the open bias on the side of the tank top, leaving a piece of a few centimeters. Pin all around. You will sew at the folded mark inside the bias binding. When you reach a corner, fold the bias towards the outside of the piece. The bias will be parallel to the end of the armhole. Then hold the fold you formed with your finger and fold the bias towards the inside of the piece and pin the miter corner. Mark with a tailor chalk or an erasable pen where the ends of the bias binding strips match. Then pin the bias binding strips and sew it. Cut the excess fabric and open the seams. Pin it, this part should fit perfectly on the rest of the space, and sew all around. When you reach the corner, sew to the seam allowance. Turn your needle down, rotate your piece, and continue sewing. After trying my piece, I decided to lower a little bit the neckline and the shoulder length. Then I sewed the bias binding. Press to open the seams and fold all the bias binding to the wrong side. Press and pin it. Make little notches at the curves. Take care to not cut the seams. This is how the miter corner turned out. The last step is to top stitch the bias binding. I will make it from the right side of the fabric, feeling with the ends of my finger the side of the bias binding. At this part, you just need to slow down and sew with patience. After all these steps, press the tank top. So look how the tank top with bow ties turned out. If you like this tutorial, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me. And leave a comment saying if you will make this tank top. Thank you so much for watching.